Good morning. Welcome to Kinze's webinar on 5000 series liquid fertilizer. For those that have just joined, welcome. For those that have been on for a little bit, welcome back. And just wanted to say good morning. My name is Brad Neenstead, product specialist here at Kinze, and be with you for the duration of today talking about 5000 series liquid fertilizer system. So kind of the plan for the day as we kind of walk through what we're going to talk about is really just go through the system as a whole, talk about why it is the way it is, how we kind of came to system layout, talk about new features that are coming for model year 26, and as always, here to answer your questions. So as I talked about before in a couple intro opening parts here, if you have questions at any time, feel free to type those in the chat. And again, we'll answer those again as we're going through or at the end or however it fits into what we're talking about. So by all means, feel free to type those in at any time throughout the day. Be more than happy to answer your questions. So 5000 series fertilizer as a whole. And when we introduced our 5000 series model lineup, we looked at our fertilizer offering and really spent a lot of time talking with you guys in the field on what are your needs. Fertilizer is ever changing. Farming practices, of course, are changing. We want to provide the best fertilizer solution for you in the field. So what are your needs in the field and for your operations? By far the biggest one is support a wider range of application rates. Realize that not only are some doing, of course, in furrow application, out the back, 2x2, putting it on corn, putting it on beans, combination of both. We need a system that'll handle a wide rate range to help support your application and your fertilizer management plan. More auxiliary tank options. All right, it's always the same theme is it's never big enough, right? How can we get more capacity? Again, especially as we're doing more split planter application rates, different products, all those type of things. We need more capacity. How can we support that in factory solutions instead of aftermarket solutions? Improved row by row flow switch or flow indication. So again, fertilizer is expensive. We need to ensure that it's coming out at the right rate. And of course, we don't want to create any crop damage as well. So how do we improve letting you know, is it flowing, not flowing, to ensure that we're getting, again, the maximizing the application of your fertilizer. And probably the big one we've heard for a long time by far is ability to apply two fertilizer products at the same time, again, as a factory solution. So we're going to walk through these, kind of how we attacked each one of them and how the solution that we factory offer today matches all of those things you guys have asked for in the field. So kind of the topics, we're going to talk about some enhancements, some changes. Of course, we've offered liquid fertilizer for a long time, but what changes or enhancements have we made to fit and hit all those bullet points we talked about earlier? Go through, again, an overview of the system, talk about application methods that we have, both openers and drop tubes, etc. We'll walk through all of those. Do a quick planner walk around at the end just to walk through some components, kind of how we've done the layout of the fertilizer to, again, make it easy to troubleshoot, clean out, etc. And again, talk about some of those new enhancements we're offering for this coming season for model year 26. So the big change, all right, and it kind of starts at the core of the fertilizer system is the pump itself. So we've transitioned away from a centrifugal style pump and gone to a diaphragm style pump. So why did we do that? Of course, number one, just a more durable solution from a fertilizer pump standpoint. We can, of course, run dry for well over 10 minutes and not create any damage to the pump itself. Of course, the big feature is the ability to pull from optional factory installed plumbing that attaches to the saddle tanks on the tractor or a rear trailer and pulling it behind you and pull fertilizer from those locations. Again, just providing that longer fill time, longer run times between fills, utilizing auxiliary tanks. So this pump allows us to do that. We'll talk a little bit about that as we get into the walk around a little bit as well. And probably the biggest item, we talked earlier, again, one of those feature sets as you guys were looking for in the field is wider application rates. So as you can see on here, we support with this single fertilizer system application rates of 2 to 25 gallons an acre at speeds from 3 to 12 miles an hour with just one fertilizer configuration. So super wide rate range. Probably one of the bigger questions we get, though, as you see on there, it says 25 gallons an acre. Is that as high as we can get? Well, up to 12 miles an hour, yes. If we slow down a little bit, we get to that 8 and 9 miles an hour, we can actually get you 30 gallons an acre as a max application rate. So a huge range. And we got to realize, and I'll talk about it as we get into a little bit of model configurations, but again, we're supporting 2 gallons an acre even on that 15-inch row application on our 5670 model. We'll talk about that also. That large rate range is available due to the diaphragm style pump, like we've talked about, but more importantly, the design and how we're running that diaphragm style pump. So the system itself is pressure and flow compensated. So we still use an orifice at the row, and we'll talk about that once we get to our flow switches on the manifolds itself. But we either speed up, slow down the pump to maximize the flow required to keep in your operating range, your operating pressure. So take a single size orifice that maybe your rate range is very, very small. With the pressure and flow compensated system, by us, again, knowing what the fertilizer is, what rate you want, the speed you're driving, we can speed up and slow down that pump to double the rate range that you can now achieve with one orifice size. So again, depending on the application, we can do all of that adjustment with one rate range, one orifice size, and again, support maybe a bean and a corn application, both without ever having to make any changes on the planter itself. And again, realize that sometimes orifices might be difficult to know which one you should use based on your speed, application, and row spacing. And we've made that a little easier as well. And we'll dive into that into the Blue Vantage here shortly. So diaphragm style pump, all 5000 series, pressure and flow compensated, the ability to pull from auxiliary tanks with factory installed plumbing here. So you can just simply hook up your auxiliary tanks and ability to pull from those tanks. Again, all of that hosing factory installed here at Kinze. So new style pump that we've gone to as well. We also have gone away from the typical turbine style flow meter as well. We've now utilized an electromagnetic flow meter that of course doesn't have those wear characteristics of a turbine style. So again, just more accurate, longer life. We also support and provide agitation during operation all the time. Okay, so that agitation changes, of course, whether you're applying fertilizer, depending on your rate, are you turning on the ends, etc. But realize a lot of you guys are using, again, custom mixes, a lot of biologicals in there, a whole plethora of things that may require agitation. We purposely ensure that there's always agitation in the tank when you're running off the main supply tank on the planter itself. Again, to keep things in suspension. You guys that are used to using fertilizer already, hey, realize that it's, again, something you have to deal with depending on the mix. We provide that solution on the factory onboard tank. Of course, when you transition to the auxiliary tank solution, and we'll talk about what that is as we do the walk around and what steps that requires to go to the auxiliary tanks. Of course, no agitation there. It's obviously just pulling directly from whatever tank you have on the tractor or, of course, the rear trailer hitch option. So agitation, again, utilizing the onboard tanks on the planter. Again, all 5000 series have that same configuration with agitation built into it already. Of course, the pump's rebuildable. All right, so again, just a more serviceable pump, again, being a diaphragm style. Hydraulic supply for the pump comes from the standard PTO pump. So again, all 5000 series planters come standard with a variable displacement PTO hydraulic pump that supplies all the hydraulics for all the functions on the planter, including the liquid fertilizer pump as well. So if you have liquid fertilizer or don't have liquid fertilizer, single product, the system doesn't require any extra hydraulic remotes. It's, of course, pulled off of that PTO pump. So, again, truly a self-contained system. As I've talked about before, the same style of pump is used on all 5000 series planters. Maybe a little bit different size. Of course, a little bit larger fertilizer pump on a 24-row, a little smaller pump on a 12-row naturally just because of sheer volume, but the same design, style, brand of pump lives on all 5000 series model machines. So we got the fertilizer control set up. We're pushing fertilizer out to the row, and we talked about fertilizer flow switches. And again, something that we needed some improvement on, a request from you guys to, number one, provide a better switch that indicates flow or no flow at all the fertilizer rate ranges, especially that lower fertilizer rate when you get into 15-inch rows. Of course, high fertilizer rate if we're putting on up to that 30 gallons an acre on the 24-row size. We needed something that's a little more resistant to tacky fertilizer. We talked about all of those different mixes that you guys can get into, and I realize a whole bunch of different other things than just a standard single mix fertilizer out there in the industry. And what you guys are using at home, we need a better solution to support and provide long-term durability and resistance to the tacky fertilizer. Make them easy to clean, right? Nobody wants to spend a lot of time cleaning them at the end of the season. We wanted to provide a solution that we could update older generation fertilizer flow switches to this new style flow switch. And of course, more importantly, have this all integrated into the Blue Vantage display. So the picture on the screen there is the new fertilizer flow switch. And if you're looking at the screen from left to right, I have one up here we'll talk about here in a second. We, of course, have the shutoff valve itself, okay, which, of course, is controlled by the seed or the row unit and seed flow. So seed is always king. If seed is shutting off, fertilizer shuts off. And just like our seed control on all of our 5000 series model machines with single row section control, fertilizer is the same way. So the fertilizer will shut off whenever the seed is off as well. So you have the shutoff valve itself. We go just to the middle. You can see the wheel flow sensor in there, the yellow turbine wheel. And you can see the small two balls on the top of that pinwheel. Of course, when the fertilizer shutoff valve opens, that pinwheel starts to spin, and of course it indicates is it flowing or not flowing. Nice part about that pinwheel design, resistance to tacky fertilizer. Ability to, again, sense low flow applications. So again, 2 gallons an acre on 15-inch rows. Think about how small that rate is coming out of a drop tube or whatever it may be. This will still pick up, is it flowing or not flowing, to ensure that you don't have a plugged tube or something of that nature. We get all the way to the end, of course, we get to where our fertilizer orifice lives as well on the outside of that cap, and then of course down to our application point. Okay, so a couple other unique items that we've done to ensure that, number one, this fertilizer flow switch is active. Okay, again, we have our shutoff valve over here.
Go ahead and end your screen share, Brad.
Sure. We have our fertilizer valve, again, just to, get you a little more in tune with what looked like on the screen. So we have shutoff valve over here. First, we have our top cap at the top, which is where our pinwheel lives. So again, it's a quarter turn cap. So if we just simply turn that a quarter turn, we take our cap off, and then of course inside is the pinwheel design. Okay, again, the pinwheel can be easily taken out. The whole thing can be disassembled and cleaned very quickly. And again, the pinwheel is what, of course, is spinning to give us that is it flowing or not flowing indication on our top flow switch. Unique item, though, again, besides the pinwheel design inside, is we also utilize, I can pick it up here because it's small, this little jet orifice right here. This jet orifice is very small. It goes inside the flow switch, and it's either installed or taken out based on your rate and speed application. Okay? The purpose of this jet orifice is especially when you are in small rate ranges. So let's say in that 4 gallons an acre mark, this actually speeds up the flow coming out into the pinwheel to ensure that we have a good accurate reading to, again, tell you if it's flowing or not flowing. We've done a lot of testing to ensure we know, hey, you've selected this orifice in the display. This should be installed. Your travel speed and fertilizer rate, we know what this should be spinning to indicate is it flowing or not flowing. Okay, so kind of some unique items we utilize inside this flow switch to ensure that you get an accurate reading. Okay, of course, on the other side, we just, of course, have our quick turn, which is where our orifice is going to live inside the flow switch itself. So, with all that said, how do we know what orifice to use? Should this jet orifice be in there? What mesh screen filter? If I go before the orifice size, how do I know which size of mesh filter should be in this flow switch? So what we've done, try to make it easy on you by utilizing the Blue Vantage display. Okay, so I'm in demo mode here just to get you to the fertilizer screen. So how do I know? Where do I set it? If I go into my plant page and I'm setting up my field, all right, I'm setting up my task. I'm making a new task. This, of course, is task setup screen, all right, to set up, again, hybrids, fertilizer, rates, etc. You can see on the left-hand side over here where it says products. If I tap on fertilizer, it takes me to my fertilizer products tab. You can see you can enter in the name of the fertilizer you're using. You can adjust your fertilizer rate. But over here on the left-hand side, there's a box that says orifice and a chart box. If we press on chart, this takes us to the interactive orifice chart. All right, it's interactive, meaning you tell us what your rate range is and your speed range is that you're going to plant at. Okay, so for example, if I change my rate and say I'm going to put 8 to 10 gallons an acre on, and my travel speed is going to be 4.5 miles an hour to 8 miles an hour. Okay? In order to support that rate range to get the most accurate application method, you see that we tell you that it's a 0.048 orifice size. If you look over here on the left-hand side, you can see the orifice ranges that we have. You can see 048 is right here, and you can see it says use jet. So in that case, the jet orifice, which comes factory installed on all fertilizer systems, does not have to be removed. Okay, so you can simply leave it in the flow switch. Okay, so that lives inside the flow switch. It says use jet. You can also see that there is 3 different colors in the orifice chart as well. You have green at the bottom, blue bars, yellow bars, and really the function of those different colors is to let you know which color mesh filter to use on the fertilizer flow switch. It comes standard with 100 mesh filter by default. So 37 thousandths orifices are what comes standard in the fertilizer package when you order it directly from Kinze. Of course, if you have a different rate range or require a different mesh filter, we would, of course, order those through parts to fit your application rate. Okay. So the nice part, so we talked about the filter. How do we know which orifice to use? All those type of things. Of course, again, it might be a long time before we hit spring. Granted, we're kind of thinking about fall already or second pass spraying beans, all those type of things. And I come into the spring, well, how do I know where that jet orifice was he was talking about? Or where's the mesh filter? Or where the heck was that orifice? Again, we try to make it easy on the Blue Vantage display by giving you reminders about where that location is. So on the right-hand side of this orifice chart page, you can see there is a parts button. If we press on parts, what that does is basically gives you an exploded view of this flow switch to let you know, hey, that's where that jet orifice is. It's behind my fertilizer shutoff. Oh, that's where my strainer is. It's right before the orifice cap. All those type of things built into the display. We also tell you what direction to, of course, face the orifice also by, of course, having that stamped numbers facing out towards delivery. So a lot of, again, tips, tricks, etc. built into the display to help you get your fertilizer flow switches, the orifice selected correctly.
Question.
Yeah.
We had someone want to know what the recommended cleaning process is for the flow switch.
So for the flow switches itself, the first thing I would do is in the Blue Vantage display, there is a flush feature. Okay, the flush feature allows you to basically run the planter stationary without having to be inside a field or in a task. Okay, so the planter has to be raised. You can go into flush. It's under actions on the Blue Vantage display. You can go to flush, turn fertilizer on, and really what that does is start the pump, open your fertilizer flow switches, and it'll, of course, just sit there and run sitting stationary. So if you're utilizing, again, tank cleaner or you're putting a lot of water through to change products, I would run that flush feature first, get all that water and debris out, and then go through, check your filters. Okay, go through and check each mesh filter on every row. Of course, your mesh filters under the tank, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Take all those apart, inspect them, clean them, all those type of things. Not a bad idea, again, to take out your fertilizer cap. Just visually inspect your pinwheel inside, make sure there's nothing else built up, no salts, etc. built inside the flow switch. And really, that is it. The nice part about the flow switch in the field, if something happens to it, we sell it really in all different parts and pieces. Okay, so the center hub and the center cap, where that pinwheel lives, again, is a separate piece. It's held onto the manifold with a simple U-clip, and we'll walk through that once we get through or get to the walk around as well. So a lot of, again, nice features built into Blue Vantage to help you at the end of the season and flush those systems out as a whole. Okay. So I'm just going to go back out of my orifice chart. Again, if I press and select the orifice I have in there, or what I should be using, 0.048, hit the checkbox. You can see it takes me back to my fertilizer setup page. And again, we remind you, hey, 0.048 inch orifices, you should be using the jet and you should be using the 50 mesh strainer as well. So we, again, provide several reminders, helpful tips about how the planter should be configured depending on your configuration settings and your fertilizer rate. So try to make it easy on you in the field.
We do have another question
regarding the cleaning of the system. How do you recommend at the end of the season doing cleaning to clean the system?
Same rules apply. I would use the flush feature to just, again, stationary run that system to, again, push a lot of water through, put your antifreeze in at the end of the season. When I do a walk around, I'll show you at the end of the fertilizer manifolds, there is a quick coupler style at the end. If you wanted to run a lot of water through it, you can take that cap off and physically blow or push a lot of water through those manifolds out, again, just onto the ground, etc. So I'll talk about that once we get to the walk around part as well for a clean out side of things. Yep. But yeah, the flush feature by far is the best one. It also allows a great winterized part because, again, you can pour your antifreeze in there, run that flush feature, and again, we'll push it out to all the rows through your drop tubes, fertilizer openers, all those type of things. Okay, so we got back to our fertilizer flow switch, kind of walk through kind of some unique features and nice items with durability, reliability, and ability to sense those low flow rates as well. We talked about the interactive orifice chart already. Again, just kind of a recap in there. Again, it's interactive. You can put a whole bunch of different parameters in there like we just walked through, built into every Blue Vantage display. Other features as we get into fertilizer, again, just wanted to highlight capacities. A lot of variability in it depending on operating configuration. Again, can be anywhere from 400, 300 to 750 gallons depending on your size of toolbar, the configuration you're using, all those type of things. So a lot of different capacities based on configuration. One thing we've added to this season, and we actually introduced it last year with our 5670, and I'll talk about that here in a second as well, is on even our front fold models, we're utilizing radar sensors in the tank to help provide you tank level, of course, to know how full the tank is, read out on the Blue Vantage display. We also can provide an acres to empty calculation like we do with our bulk seed with our bulk fill tanks. So now we have a sensor on all fertilizer tanks to sense the level. You don't have to reset it or refill it like you do on other displays. When you refill the tank, obviously the radar level sensor is reading a different level and will automatically change how many gallons are in the tank, which of course will change your acres to empty feature as well. So new feature for 26 to allow that capability to, again, give you acres to empty, comes standard with it. And again, we'll read the level of any onboard tank as well. We'll talk about that, highlight it again once we do the walk around here in a couple minutes. Unique feature, we talked about the introduction of the radar sensors on our front fold single tank setups. Really has just kind of come on from our 5670 model. So our 5670 model we introduced last year. It is our new lift and pivot style frame taking place of our 3665. Utilizes, of course, 5000 series liquid fertilizer systems that we've talked about. So the ability really for the first time for Kinze to put bulk seed, split rows, and liquid fertilizer all on one toolbar, factory installed, all integrated and controlled with the Blue Vantage display. Of course, with that, in the dual tank setup comes some challenges. And again, listening to you guys in the field on what are some pain points of dual tanks. And of course, gravity, right? We have, of course, in the picture on the screen, not everybody is able to plant nice, flat, level ground. A lot of us have hills, me included, that you have to deal with. And of course, fertilizer tanks, naturally that fertilizer is going to want to go to the lowest location, okay? So industry exclusive, what we've done on our 5670 model is introduce automatic tank leveling. So we have sensors on each one of our tanks on the wing, of course, sensing the level of each tank and automatically opening and closing valves to push the fertilizer up to the lower tank to keep them level even when you are on side hills. It does it automatically. There's nothing you have to do as the user for it to do that. It's standard equipment on all of our 5670 model configurations. So lift and pivot, 2 tanks, automatic tank leveling. And the nice part is it requires no input from you. As I noted before, it does it automatically. It's standard equipment on 5670. So when you get liquid fertilizer packages on 5670, whether it's rear rows only or rear and split rows, whatever your configuration is, it's complete and you get it with all configurations. The other nice part is it's active when you're even filling the tank. So realize when you're filling at the end of the beginning of the day, maybe you're not in a field, so the pump isn't actively running. We actually sense the level on the tank. So as you're filling, we again open and close the valves to ensure we don't overfill the lower tank if it's not, again, sitting on a flat level surface when you're filling it. So the pump doesn't need to be running. Again, valuable when filling on a hill. Really the only thing that needs to happen in order for that auto tank leveling to work is to simply have the key on, have the display on, so there's power back there so those valves can adjust. Again, does it automatically. So again, makes it easy to fill in the field and helps, of course, prevent that overfilling on the lower tank, especially when you're not sitting level. So industry exclusive on that 5670. We just kind of took those sensors, added them to the front fold machines as well. That way we can give you, again, the how full the tank is, and more importantly, that acres to empty, so you know how far you can go, of course, before you have to refill. So adding those features across the product lineup on 5000 series machines. So always have that good note, right? If one is good, two is better. You know, if I got one cookie, heck, two is a heck of a lot better. All right. So again, listening to you, and remember one of those bullet points earlier is the ability for two products to be applied at the same time. And again, based on your feedback, we introduce on for model year 26 dual product fertilizer. Okay. It's available on 5,900 front fold machines for model year 26. It's on all configurations, so 12, 16, 24 row. No matter your meter option or any of those type of things, you can get dual product liquid fertilizer. Again, two products at the same time. One product is drawn from the onboard tank. Okay, so like the tank behind me, we'll pull one product from there, and then the second product or the dual product will be pulled from either saddle tanks on the tractor or a rear trailer hitch option or a trailer, all right, for that second product. So there's not extra tanks added to the planter. It would purely be auxiliary tanks somewhere, and more than likely on the tractor or trailer, as we noted. Again, you get to choose that in the configuration process, so we pre-plumb that for you at the factory, so everything's out of harm's way, and just a better integrated solution when it's integrated here at the factory itself. When we get to dual product, okay, we talked about how the single product and the onboard system, again, with a hydraulically driven diaphragm pump, is pulled, or the oil is supplied from the factory standard variable displacement PTO pump. When you get to dual product, it does require one more hydraulic remote. So currently today, a single product liquid fertilizer system would require two remotes and, of course, the standard PTO pump. Dual product, it just requires another remote. So three remotes total to really get a full-featured, full-function liquid fertilizer system on any of our 5000 series, and of course specifically 5900 when you get to that dual product offering. It's two separate diaphragm style pumps. So we talked about the rate range that the diaphragm pump supports. The dual product is the same and supports the same rate range. So again, 2 to 25 gallons an acre at 12 miles an hour. You can get up to 30 gallons an acre if we slow down in that 8 to 9 miles an hour range. So same setup, same pump, same electromagnetic flow meter, all those awesome things that we talked about on at the introduction, and kind of why and what we changed on that liquid fertilizer package. It's the same on the dual product. So there's no need to know, is there a high-low or a high rate, a low rate, a mid-rate fertilizer package? There's not. It's the same. We're just adding another one onto the planter itself. Of course, fertilizer, single or dual product, can be applied using a combination of disc openers. So again, fertilizer openers, in-furrow drop tubes, rear drop tubes, or your own preferred method. You can pick and choose. You can choose one, not the other. You can choose none from us and purely do it all by yourself. So a lot of flexibility for fertilizer application methods, and we'll walk through some of those that we offer as a factory option as well. So you kind of have an idea of what can be offered from the factory, and of course what that looks like as well. Of course, includes necessary plumbing to connect to auxiliary fertilizer tanks. So as I talked earlier, single product, dual product, if you're plumbing to the front or front auxiliary, we factory install that here. Same way goes on the rear trailer hitch as well. We factory install all of that plumbing. Again, just provides a more cleaner solution And again, better longevity of the hoses, again, with it being installed, of course, when the planter is built as well. We talked about it again, just a reminder, pump is operated by its own dedicated remote. It only takes 4 gallons a minute. So it's not like we're asking for a large hydraulic requirement from the tractor to run that second pump. Same setup as single product. So there'll be another set of manifolds. Second product is, again, row by row, section controlled fertilizer. So again, same flow switches, same shutoff valves. It's kind of sound like a broken record, right? Everything's the same. There's just 2 of them. Again, fertilizer supply is auxiliary tank. So once you get to dual product, you have to choose front auxiliary or rear auxiliary to supply that fertilizer for that second product application. Application method, we kind of jump into the drop tube offering. We've offered the in-furrow drop tube for a long time. Of course, you can see it in the middle bottom part of that picture on the screen. That rear drop tube is, of course, dropping fertilizer on top of the seed behind the tube. In this case, this is a true speed meter row unit. If it was a true rate, so a non-high speed meter, again, same drop point for the fertilizer, basically right behind the seed tube. If you go to the rear of it, something we're offering, again, as a factory option is rear fertilizer drop tubes. Again, mounts, brackets, tubes, plumbing, all included with the rear fertilizer drop tube package also. So again, this is kind of a setup for a dual product. You could have in-furrow and rear drop tube as well. So something we're adding as a factory option, rear fertilizer drop tubes as well. So just show you what that looks like, kind of some different layouts on a 5000 series row unit. On the 5670, so this is kind of where it gets a little bit different based on the model. All right, so 5670, again, lift and pivot style frame we introduced last year, offers a notched fertilizer opener. So as you can see in the picture, it's an opener we've had for a long time. A 2x2 opener, kind of a good all-around opener. It kind of does well in a lot of conditions. Again, been around for a long time. Probably the only unique item with it on a 5670 is to get 2x2 or as close to 2x2 as we can on those center rows by the Y hitch. We actually have a very specific fertilizer mount for those locations. So, of course, the 5670 took place of our 3665 model, and we redesigned those fertilizer opener mounts to, again, get you very, very close to that 2x2 right on the Y hitch. Again, something that was difficult on that 65. We made that transition when he went to the 5670. So lift and pivot, rotate design frame uses notched fertilizer openers like you see in the screen or on the picture. 5900, the 5900 that's behind me here, again, uses a notch single disc opener as well, but really a dedicated fertilizer opener just for this style of frame and folding applications. This is a 2x2 opener, a lot of features built into it, from quick adjust depth setting, quick adjust downforce setting as well, to really kind of maximize really just utilizing it in different applications, from no-till to conventional till. You can lock them up out of the way if you're not using them, if you're, again, planting 30-inch row beans, all those type of solutions built into the 5900. So this opener only available on the 5900, but again, a lot of features in it, quick adjust, all those nice use cases in the field to, again, fine-tune it to maximize it for your application on the 5900 model layout. The 5700, okay, which again is a front fold, but mainly our 20-inch row focused frame. No fertilizer opener options on that guy. Again, number one, due to 20-inch rows. Number two, just folding clearance, giving it enough application and clearance for it to physically fold. No opener options on 5700 model. Again, as always, anything we've talked about from a fertilizer rate control standpoint is all controlled and integrated into the Blue Vantage display. So both liquid products, rail pressure, rate, orifice selection, all designed and built into Blue Vantage and controlled with the Blue Vantage display. So that fertilizer page we talked about earlier, instead of having one of them, you of course would simply have two to enter that on both sides. Okay, so with that, kind of walk through a layout, just want to spend a little bit of time going through and walking around the frame itself. And we have 5,900 in the arena today to walk through. And I'll start under the tank as a whole. So 5,900, again, kind of a dedicated corn planter, our 30-inch only configuration machine. Couple unique items when it comes to fertilizer capacities on 5,900. So this guy is equipped with dual product. We'll look at the dual product layout here in a second. But it's also equipped with our 2x2 fertilizer openers that we just talked about. When you get 2x2 openers, your fertilizer tank size is 500 gallons. And the reason for that is just sheer weight of the openers and, of course, the fertilizer on the frame. If you do not get the 2x2 openers, the notched openers we talked about, your tank capacity is 750 gallons. So a little different, again, just on the configuration standpoint on the 24-row size. Okay? So just point that out again, because majority of them are 750 gallons. We look at under the tank. Again, we tried to clean up from our older generation liquid fertilizer. Of course, you can see our diaphragm pump mounted under the tank. Of course, again, is a liquid-filled, easy maintenance style of pump. Again, we talked about all those features that the diaphragm pump provides, the ability to pull from auxiliary tanks, and again, that rate range support as well. We cleaned up underneath it. Again, behind our toolbar, again, is our electromagnetic flow meter, control valves, and of course, our 80 mesh filters under there, both on the pressure and return side to, again, keep debris out from inside the system. Again, realize sometimes those fertilizers are dirty. So everything's clean underneath it. We also have made changes from our older generation fertilizer system is you no longer have to go under the tank to physically fill the tank. All right. Older generation fertilizer, we had to go on, under, and flip a valve, fill the tank, flip a valve the other way. You no longer have to do that. So really the only time you have to come under the tank is really to clean out those mesh filters. So when you fill it from the back, you just plug it in from your tender, fill the tank. Okay. On the top, we talked about the radar sensor. Again, it's probably a little tough to see because it's on the top of the tank. But again, we have our wire cable here that goes up to that radar sensor that allows you to see the tank level on the display and, of course, gives you that acres to empty. Single product layout. All right, if we had a single product configuration, so one product only, again, this one's set up for dual product. On a single product and you were utilizing auxiliary tanks, okay, for your single product. When you pull or empty your main tank and you want to pull from the auxiliary tank, there's two valves on the other side that would normally be there on a single product system. You would flip those both to auxiliary and the pump would automatically start pulling from your auxiliary tank. So to utilize auxiliary tanks on single product, it's very easy. You flip two valves, it then starts pulling from your tank. We do have had a couple guys that are like, you know, what if I want to pull from my main tanks first and not utilize the tank on the planter first? Hey, no problem. You can leave this completely full and just pull from the auxiliary tanks if you so choose as well. So completely up to you. We can go either way, but single product, two valves, pull from auxiliary, and you're ready to go. So we talk about auxiliary. Again, this one is dual product, but auxiliary hose layout. If you're utilizing front auxiliary like this planter is configured as, we have our auxiliary hose. Again, that's factory installed here. that runs all the way up to the hitch of the planter, so that way you can connect your saddle tanks to it, and again, utilize those as an auxiliary source. So this one is set up, again, front auxiliary. So tank, control valve, pump, again, redesigned, cleaned up, easier to service, maintain, and of course, operate in the field. Okay. We got control valves. Let's get to the rose itself and talk a little bit about the manifold. We come to the wings. Again, this planter is set up with dual product fertilizers, so hence why we have two manifolds. Right? They're labeled. One is for, of course, fertilizer 2. One, of course, is for fertilizer 1. If you have a single product fertilizer configuration, you, of course, would only have one set of manifolds. We bunch them in sections. So, of course, this is kind of the right-hand wing section. You can see behind me to my right, there's a smaller, again, two-bank setup for manifolds as well. We try to keep them compact. Number one, it's easier and quicker to change orifice sizes, easier to clean out. Again, everything located in one spot. And more importantly, with dual product, you have both rows or both products right next to each other from a row label standpoint. We do have quick disconnects. Again, we talked about clean out earlier. We have quick disconnects on the end of each manifold, so you can, again, simply pull those off and, of course, flush a lot of water through those quickly instead of going through the flow switch as well. You can see how the flow switches are oriented. Again, we talked earlier that we have our shutoff valve over here, our flow indicator at the top with the pinwheel under the cap, and then we have, of course, our orifice location here. When you order or configure a planter for purchase, you again decide which and how product 1 and product 2 are plumbed. So for example, if you want product 1 to go to your notched openers and product 2 to go to in-furrow drop tubes, we can physically select that during that order process, and it'll come pre-plumbed that way from the factory. If you only want one thing plumbed, let's say if you only want single product plumbed to rear drop tubes, in the second product you're going to do something on your own, hey, you can certainly do that too. Everything is plumbed. We just, of course, plumb a hose to that second product location, cap it off, and then you take it from there for that application range as a whole. Yeah.
We do have a question. Is there any way of adjusting the agitation at all, or is that set automatically? Would like to be able to add dry powder product to the main tank and make sure that will agitate.
Sure. So it's not adjustable. Okay, I will tell you that the max agitation is, of course, when the planter is raised and all of the fertilizer valves are shut off. So a good example, I had a test guy. I spent a lot of time with our test users in the field doing a similar scenario. And what we've done is, again, go into a task or start a field, that pump starts running. All right, just like everything else, the fans come on, all those type of things. You can then dump the powder in. That is the max agitation point when the pump is on and everything is closed. So we would fill it up, dump our powder in, and then really just let the pump sit there and run by itself. That's the max agitation part to, again, get that powder kind of, again, spread out like you're making chocolate milk. Get it all spread out into the tank. And then once you start planting, there's always some agitation going through it, but that would provide our max agitation by just letting the pump run stationary to mix it in as a whole. So kind of preset already based on how many rows are open. And again, for that application, turn it on, let it run, do its max agitation when the pump is sitting. Yep. So again, fertilizer manifolds, we talked about easy to disassemble. Again, U-clips just hold this whole assembly on. And then, of course, the whole assembly can come off and you can clean, disassemble, fix, whatever it may be in the field. So streamlined it, keep them compact in its location. And again, more importantly, allow you easy access to change, clean, etc. at the end of the season. Okay. Again, can plumb and configure these however you so choose on a new machine as well. So manifold, since I'm standing here, just to talk about the notched fertilizer openers, since this guy has them attached onto them. Again, 2x2 fertilizer opener specific to the 5900 in this configuration. You, of course, can see the gauge wheel. We allow different positions for downforce on those fertilizer openers as well. You can obviously adjust the spring tension in each one of those settings also. And we have a quick adjust cam to help adjust the planting, or excuse me, the fertilizer depth and the depth of that opener in the field as well. So again, kind of a dedicated corn planter scenario with our 5900. Just wanted to touch on those fertilizer openers real quick as we talk about 2x2 on 5900. With that, we're going to walk around to the backside of the toolbar, talk a little bit about the dual product configuration, and talk about a couple other application methods that we offer from the factory. Okay, so we're on the back. Dual product configuration on 5900 for model year 26. Of course, this is a new option we just touched on. Again, same layout and operation as that single product. So again, diaphragm style pump pulled off of its own hydraulic remote. Okay, when you go to dual product, still utilizing electromagnetic flow meters. We still, of course, have our 80 mesh filters on the pressure and suction side. Probably the one unique item when you get to dual product, again, not pulling from an onboard tank, but pulling from auxiliary tanks. Again, trailer, tractor saddles, all those type of things, especially that first day out, there can be air in the lines or air in the lines coming from the tractor itself. Again, diaphragm pump has the ability to pull fertilizer from it, but again, sometimes it can be hard to get the air out of the system, all right, and fully purge it, get it fully primed. Going through and developing that, we introduced really just a simple manual purge valve built into the dual product setup. So back here on the back side, there's just a quarter turn ball valve that you just open up as that fertilizer pump is running. Leave that open until you have fertilizer coming out of your vent tube. Shut your valve, and you're ready to go. Okay, so again, spending time with our customer test guys and using both saddle tanks and rear trailers, super handy feature, gets that system primed. And again, until you run it fully dry again throughout the season, you should never have to prime it ever again. So very easy to, again, get up and running, very easy to get set up to pull from auxiliary tanks as well. So again, all run through Blue Vantage. And again, with the manual run button on every row unit, we have the ability to ensure that fertilizer is working on every row as well. So unique feature, of course, on 5000 series, excuse me, or on any Kinze electric drive is the manual run button. It's the red button on the back of the row unit that anytime you press that button, not only does the meter turn, but the fertilizer valves open as well, both for single and dual product applications to ensure that, again, fertilizer is working. So again, some good troubleshooting features built in with that manual run button to ensure that everything's working before you make that trek back to the tractor itself. If we go to application methods, just want to touch on and show a little bit of that layout of our in-furrow drop tube and, of course, our rear fertilizer drop tube as well. So again, just highlight the in-furrow tube is this guy here. Again, dropping it in the row on top of the seed behind the seed tube itself. Again, we've had that option for a long time. And then, of course, the rear fertilizer drop tubes, like you see here, dual tube setup, comes with brackets and mounts to, of course, mount to the closing wheels. We offer these for both air adjust closing wheels, like you see here on this row unit, or the spring adjust closing wheel, like we've had for a long time. Last year, we introduced on our 5000 series row unit on the spring adjust closing wheels are the cast style arms. And we also added holes or mounting locations for those rear fertilizer tubes on that cast style spring arm as well. So just to provide a little more solution, a little easier application method, and another factory option for fertilizer, again, to put on top of the seed excuse me, on top of the soil as you're going through the field. Again, can be, of course, ordered and put on older 5000 series models as well as attachments. So we've kind of made it full circle all the way to the back of the planter itself. We got to our dual product. We got to some more application methods. Again, the last part, just to again highlight the fact of filling the tank. There's nothing you have to do underneath the tank to fill any of the onboard fertilizer tanks. You simply hook up to the fill, flip your levers, again, start your motor, and of course fill the fertilizer tank. We do have rear sight gauges back here as well, so you can see the level of the fertilizer tank also when you're on the rear of the planter as well. So again, just make it easier to see in the field. So full circle, we made it all the way back, talked about our application method. Let's head back up to the desk and see what other questions we have on 5000 series fertilizer.
As of now, we haven't had any additional questions, but guys, feel free to type in the chat with any questions you have.
So don't mind the man behind the curtain. The guy talking back there is Zach. He's helped me out with video, audio, and the question asker guy as well. So,
and we got one. So any more end of the season tips for good maintenance at the end of the planting season?
Sure. You guys have touched on a lot of them already. Is purely clean out, making sure we clean out all of the mesh filters, especially the ones at the row. Some guys forget that those mesh filters are there. Our older generation system didn't have them as a whole. So make sure and clean out, again, everything at the row unit. The other tip or something to check on as well is your fertilizer shutoff valve. Okay. There's not a whole lot to look at or take apart. One tip I will tell you is these are disassemblable. If that's a word. You can take them apart. Okay. So on the shutoff valve, and I probably won't be able to do it. Oh. Really hard. I don't know if I can get it open. Nope. Let me see if I can get an easier one. Hang on. Let me take this one off. Go back over here. So guys, if that isn't more real life than what I just had to go through, I don't know what is. Okay. So take your fertilizer valve off. Okay. Sometimes I've seen where these fertilizer valves shut off, but of course they are still leaking. Okay. You can, if you take your cap off, if I had my pliers on me, I could easily have taken it off, but you take it apart, take your cap off, and this is the shutoff valve. Okay. If you look real tight on the top of this guy, there is a hex cap. Okay. If you hold the body, go to the hex cap, you can unloosen or disassemble this plunger. When you take it apart, a lot of times in those little holes, there can be pieces of dirt, debris, etc. I've seen just, cottonwood fuzz, those type of things get stuck inside those little holes and will cause this valve to not fully seat and shut off. Just disassemble it, clean out whatever's in there. There's a little plunger valve, a small piece of spring, all that kind of thing inside of it. Clean all that out. just put it back together, tighten it back up, and I'll probably go back to working. So this isn't something that I'm going to tell you to take apart on every row. It's just something, again, as you get a couple years on it, again, depending on how good or clean your fertilizer is from the co-op or whoever you're getting it. Sometimes just, again, gravel, whatever can get in there and prevent those from completely closing off. So take those apart if, again, you run into that indication. Otherwise, just your normal screens, filters, ensure you use your fertilizer, or either using antifreeze or RV antifreeze, again, to fill it all in there at the end of our end-of-line test procedure here at Kinze, that we, again, ensure everything's working before it leaves. We always put RV antifreeze in it for storage, again, because we're obviously building these in the wintertime. So that's probably the biggest tip. The nice part about these flow switches, they're not as susceptible to sticking as the older generation is.
I'm going to jump down a few questions because very relevant to what you just said. Darren says, I try to run RV antifreeze through the machine at clean out to flush the system. Is that what you guys recommend? If not, what do you recommend to clean the winter and winterize the system?
Yep, RV antifreeze is what we use here. A lot of guys just use straight antifreeze, which is fine. Me personally, even on our sprayer at home, I've gone to just straight antifreeze. Again, kind of depending on where you are really in the country, depending on how cold it is. Realize sometimes RV antifreeze can get a little slushy or hard depending on how cold it gets. Straight antifreeze is fine. Kinze-wise, again, we put straight RV in it when we set them on the hill here as they're waiting for shipping in the wintertime.
Yep. So Todd asks, will the tank level radar sensor retrofit to 4000 series Blue Vantage planters?
So the question on retrofit of the tank level sensor, unfortunately, Todd, it will not. We made changes to several fertilizer harnesses and really module. There's actually another module on there for fertilizer now, again, to help support dual product, but also the radar tank level as well. So unfortunately, it is not retrofittable just because of those changes made to the planter and the module itself. So, yep.
Our next questions aren't completely related to fertilizer, which is okay, guys. Feel free to ask any question you have. This is completely off subject, but I have a 3600 pivot planter. The inside row units on the wings are getting into the main carriage wheels and bending row units when it flexes over a terrace. Is there anyone up there that can call me and see if we can resolve this? I'm impressed with the new fertilizer setup, much improved from what I've had in the past.
Sure. Yeah, we can, by all means, put your name, phone number in there. We can certainly have our service group get with you, give you a call, and we can talk about it. My guess is, again, just from experience, my guess is it's catching when you're raising it and it's flexed all the way down. It's catching rows would be my guess. But yeah, we can have our service group give you a call, talk through it, and talk through some options for sure.
And that was from Roy. Roy, also feel free to contact us on the website or the social media channels as well.
Yep.
Yep. Scott Snyder, unrelated to fertilizer, but if possible to answer, I'm curious on best management practices / recommendations for the brush meters and high humidity situations to mitigate buildup issues.
Yep.
Graphite, talc, etc. Kinze manual says plenty of graphite, and our experience tells us 80-20 talc graphite.
Yep.
Works best.
Yep.
But curious on your thoughts, also any future design changes to mitigate those issues.
Yeah, that's a good one, and something that we fight almost annually, depending on weather conditions. And I would tell you historically, again, brush meters have been around for a long time, kind of been planting beans for, several decades. And the big kind of rule of thumb is, yes, brush meters love graphite for sure. Graphite's going to be number one. I always tell guys, though, and have experienced even myself and even with neighbors back home, that the treatments they're putting on the seed for soybeans, whether a lot of dependent on when they were treated, were they treated in a bag and then brought to you, or they treated a day or so before and then brought to you. the type of coating, how thick the coating is, all those type of items. And I'll tell you, the biggest thing to think about is, number one, graphite is a lubricant, talc is a drying agent. Okay, so when we get in those high humidity conditions, totally agree. We might need to increase or maybe do 80-20 is fine. I know they make some 50-50 now to get a little more graphite in there. Graphite's definitely going to help that brush meter work, lubricate, etc. Graphite is going to take the tackiness, humidity, etc. out of it. The two big differences, though, is if you're using straight talc, you physically have to mix that talc into the seed. It doesn't physically sift through the seed like graphite does. So high humidity situations, there's no magic formula, guys, by any means. There's just so many variables in the treatments and coatings, etc. 80-20 is not a bad thing. I still like a little more graphite than what 80-20 does. But in your scenario, if you're like, hey, you know what, 80-20's really reduced my issues with loading or buildup, hey, all good. You want to put straight graphite in, straight talc in, and then mix a little graphite in with it. Hey, all good there. Just remember the difference between the two. Talc is a drying agent and graphite is a lubricant. So high humidity situation, we probably need to increase that talc and then sprinkle some extra graphite on individually just from lubrication. Talc first to help dry up. Graphite help lubricate, help that seed load into the disc itself.
We have a question from Steve. Another unrelated question about fertilizer, but it's about planter safety. Can we disengage markers when folded?
So, Steve, I will tell you that on any Blue Vantage planter, we do that by default. Anytime you go to the plant screen, markers are unable to be active. I realize, let's say on a 3600, for example, with the mechanical fold box or the manual fold box, there's no way to do that right now, depending on the model. So we have made changes in later generation planters, specifically the 5000 series. So it's basically impossible to do that as a whole. It's something we could add, sure, long term to the classic machines. It's just honestly something we haven't spent time on as a whole. But again, as we make improvements and come out with new models, we have addressed that on the electric drive side. You bet. Yep.
A question from Kevin. Will there be an option in the future to have the true speed meter without the high speed belt?
Currently, there is not. There won't be a plan. It's pure orientation and design of that meter. Basically make those guys a matched pair. Again, our true speed meter is pretty unique, right? Where it's, of course, traveling perpendicular to the direction of travel. So, it's going through the field like this, where most other conventional meters, are running parallel to the row. So you can't have one without the other, meaning you can't have the top part of the meter without the lower part of the meter to really get the great performance. It has to be a match set. So really it's true rate, true speed, two separate design and configuration layouts to really maximize the performance of each one as a whole. So, yep. No, good question.
A question from Craig. Can we lower the planter while folded so we can load it on the yard?
Certainly can. Yep. Depending on the model. Again, we kind of get into model specific configuration items. You can, sure. On 5900, for example, we of course have automatic, we have switches, implement switches that help set the height when we go to unfold. All right. So if you guys are familiar, if you guys are running 05 and later series, 4905, 5900s, 5700s, 4705s, built-in switches to help make the fold process easier. So when, we have our transport height and we come down and it stops and then we unfold the planter, we do that to make folding easier when you're in the field. So there's some ways around it, but otherwise we have to unfold and set the planter down just because of safety, and then having those switches to make it unfold easier so you know exactly where your correct height is as well.
Just to verify, Craig was referencing the 5900.
5900. Okay, so Greg, there's short of unfolding it all the way, there's no way to get it any lower without unfolding it because of those switches. We can talk offline a little, couple other ways to do it, but there's not anything simple, easy from the cab, I guess, when it is folded, just because of those switches to ensure we get our height set when we're unfolding to set your rear of the planter itself.
Question from Jason. We have seen overloading of the mini hopper in both corn and soybeans on a true speed setup. The door is all the way down inside the mini hopper, but feel it's overfilling. Any ideas on why?
Couple things I can think of. There's two doors. Of course, you have one in the mini hopper lid itself. You have one in the meter itself as well. Again, in corn, we want that all the way down. In beans, depending on your configuration, if it's a 30-inch row, we'd probably want that door 3 to the 6 position. If we were on 15-inch rows, really it could stay down as a whole to help eliminate the feed or eliminate the seed pool in it. The other item would be what are the row units doing as we're driving through the field, and what is our bulk fill pressure? So if those row units are bouncing a lot and moving a lot, it'll cause that to kind of pack and fill. And again, running lower bulk fill pressure can help as well with that overfilling item. So a couple things to check, look at, see how it reacts to you.
Next question from Frank. Had trouble last night with large flats delivering seed. Thought I would increase the fan pressure above the default. What should I try? By the way, only had troubles above 6 mile per hour.
6 mile. Frank, can you tell me what model of planter? That would probably help the best on it to do.
Why don't we move on to the next question, and then
Yep.
once Frank Frank already replied, he's on the ball. So the 3505.
3505. Okay. Yeah, some can be hard. The 05 series in trainer is better. If it's large flats, increase the graphite use, number one. Sometimes more pressure is worse, depending. But 3505, you have the better lids and you have the new style in trainer. Usually graphite is the biggest one. If you think about a big flat, and I'm guessing it's 60-pound stuff, style Frank, on the size, again, it can get almost like stacking bricks on top of each other. Adding some more graphite at least helps slick up the bricks. The other thing to try too is if that happens, shut the bulk fill off, turn the bulk fill back on, and slowly increase the pressure 1 pound at a time to see if it makes a difference as a whole.
Frank replied also with 62.
62. Okay. Yep. That's what I guess. Increase the graphite might help it. Some can be difficult. Again, that's getting pretty good size seed. I agree. Had some 63-pound stuff this year. It's big.
Next question from Merrill is regarding the 3665. Can the new trainers be retrofitted on a 3665 to make the clean out easier?
Absolutely. There is kits available through parts to do that. Yes. Yep.
Jason's question is, one of the meters is set to book. Well, this is regarding a question from above. Jason had the question on the true speed set up the door.
Okay.
His follow-up is, one in the meter is set up to book 1 in corn and 3 or 4 in soybeans.
Okay. That's good. Then the other part would be, if we're overfilling, we can run less bulk fill pressure as a whole. The other part would be how the row unit's riding in the field. What does our downforce map look like? Again, a lot of jolting, jumping, heavy rocks, etc. Just the row unit bouncing up and down can cause it to do that. And does speed make a difference? If you slow down, is it better? If you speed up, is it worse? That would kind of point us to row unit ride as well. But it sounds like your door settings are right. That's a key part that a lot of guys forget, is to, again, put that all the way down from a corn standpoint as well.
We have a comment from PJ. Just at one point in time, the manual noted that the planter should not be transported fully loaded.
Yep.
Question from Kevin. I like the idea of the PTO pump, but I've heard people complaining about the weight of the pump is impossible if you have a high flow hydraulic pump on the tractor to use the power beyond to run everything instead.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we've looked at a couple options. The best part about PTO pump is you don't have to cool the oil or rely on the tractor itself to cool it. Number two, you don't have to worry about K-strain lines, hooking up the right K-strain line, flows, fittings, etc. And to get the planter to run, you just simply turn the PTO on. I'm not going to discount that the pump is heavy. I'm not going to discount that at all. But the simplicity of it, once you have it mounted onto the tractor, the fact you just flip the PTO, everything's self-contained, all your high demand requirements. Don't have to worry about setting flows or any of that. We automatically adjust all of the fan controls, again, all closed loop. And again, it's all self-contained. So if something goes wrong, a motor goes out, pump goes out, etc., all that contaminant stays on the planter, does not go in to your tractor. And of course, it's dedicated cooling. The radiator itself flips directions, so we're blowing air both ways to keep the radiator cool, all self-contained. So if it does get hot, we derate and save the pump and motors to not cause any damage. So a lot of fail-safe features built into the simplicity of just turn the PTO on to operate. So kind of the reason I'm not disagreeing the pump is heavy. It's tough to sometimes wrangle by yourself. We've made some changes to hose holder take-ups, and there's some different pump mounts out in the market now to make that easier as well, and not such a hassle also. Yep.
And at the moment, that was the last question.
Yep. So yeah, the comment on the manual side of it, on the transport loaded or half full, we always recommend half full or less to go down the road from a loading standpoint. All right, that's the recommended Kinze side of things as a whole. So as you guys are thinking, maybe you have a couple other questions. I'd be remiss to not talk about our Experience Kinze events here at Kinze. Really what a Kinze Experience event is really exactly that. You come here to Kinze, give you the opportunity to tour the plant. Again, everything is built and put together here. We're truly a manufacturing location where raw steel comes in one end, fully completed planters go out the other end. We give you a tour, give you the opportunity to hang out in the classroom with me and other engineers and test guys as we walk through the row unit and the display and fertilizer and all those type of things to get your questions answered, give you an opportunity to touch, feel, and walk through components with us. And probably the best part about the day is we then take you to the field, get you in the seat, and give you an opportunity to physically plant with configuration you're looking at to get a feel for it. What does it look like? How do I fill it, clean it out, change seeds, all those type of things. So really get you an opportunity to get truly hands-on in the field before it obviously arrives at your farm. So get with your dealer if that's something that interests you. Feel free to stop by anytime here at Kinze. Again, we're right on Interstate 80. I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody at any time, even if you're out on vacation in the summer. By all means, let us know. Come for an experience event. Be more than happy to have you here and visit with you in person as a whole.
A question from Craig, including fertilizer, considering weight for transport.
Yep, correct. Yep, fertilizer, half full or less as well. Absolutely. Yep.
Roy asks, have the pivots been beefed up on the newer planters after the 3600? Mine cracked out and had to be replaced at the base.
Yep, that one. What was the name again?
Roy.
Roy, totally different. Okay, as we look at our 3665, for example, was beefed up over the 3600. We then get to kind of the next generation lift and pivot frames in our 5670. Totally redesigned frame to, again, support all of those options like we talked about earlier. So bulk fill, fertilizer openers, all factory installed. So all those frames have changed and been beefed up to support that. specifically on 3600, if you go from 3600 to even 3605 and late model year 3600s, when we introduced bulk seed to them, yes, frame, axle, even the tires and rims were changed to help support that bulk weight. Again, transitions to the 3605. So not only has this 3605 been, but of course, newer generation planters, 5670, all new from the ground up to support all those features. And again, add durability to the planter frame as well. Yep.
Question from Robert. I own a 3500. My neighbor owns a 3600. What stops his planter from raising all the way up while unfolded while he's planting?
So it doesn't, his stop. So what stops it from, read that to me again, would you please?
What stops his planter from raising all the way up while unfolded while he's planting?
Okay, gotcha. So how that works is it's really just the stroke of the wing cylinders. Stop that from going up all the way. So when you unfold the 3600 and you set it down, what we call rephase, all the cylinders are fully retracted. We're at the same height. When you raise a 3600, of course, your center cylinder is a 48-inch stroke. The one on the outside, I believe, is 12. Don't quote me on that, but it's obviously a lot shorter. The oil goes from the center of the planter to the wings. Basically, what stops it from going any higher, that cylinder strokes out, the oil can't go anywhere, and that's what sets your height on the end, all right, with your raise height. On a 3600, the only way to get it go up the post, of course, is you physically have to hold your raise switch on the fold box, which bypasses the wings and allows that frame to go all the way up. So it's purely just cylinder design and stroke length that sets the height of a 3600 when you're turning on the ends.
A question from Jason. If we have a technical question, is there a number to call directly to get assistance?
There's not a direct Kinze support line. If you call in to Kinze on the public number, they will put you directly into a voicemail box, and then you get called back on that through that customer voicemail. You can also email in as well. Those emails get sent to our service group, and they can, depending on your question, we either handle it over email or they'll call you back on the public line. So if you call into the public line, you'll get a wonderful lady by the name of Judy, who's been around here forever. She'll help direct your call, put you in that voicemail box, and then the service department or some Kinze representative, one of us here, we'll give you a call back to help you out. There's not a direct line to the service group as a whole, but is a voicemail box, and we'll call you back through that voicemail side of things. Yep.
As of now, no further questions. We're getting pretty close to that 10:30 mark. So.
Yep. Nope. Perfect. So again, thanks all for coming on and talking about fertilizer. Appreciate your questions and look forward to, again, seeing you at an Experience Kinze event. Some to have, if you're at a farm show, by all means, stop by and visit us as we get into the farm show season and farm progress show, all those type of items. Otherwise, feel free to stop by and visit us as you guys are out on vacations this summer. Come see the Innovation Center. Again, always equipment in here. Always somebody here to help answer questions as well. So with that, thank you very much. Stay tuned for future webinars on models and planters and other features coming soon. So thanks for visiting. Have a great day.